Welcome to Write Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 51, What's Your Kryptonite? Coming to you on Sunday, April 15th, 2018. I woke up with this song in my head. I don't know why. I mean, I do love the song. It's very catchy. It's got a catchy tune. It is one of the songs on my playlist for when I'm writing my superhero books. I write superhero books. I love superhero movies. Lots of reasons why this song might be in my head, but I have no idea why. A lot of times the song will get stuck in my head because it's the last thing I heard when I then go to do something else where music isn't playing anymore. So I might have a song that's playing on a store's sound system in my head for 5 or 10 minutes in the car going, why is that song in my head? And then I'll be like, oh, I think it was playing when I was at Kohl's or something like that. So sometimes I wake up with a song in my head, and I've had that happen to me, sometimes the same song 2 or 3 mornings in a row. And then I'm asking myself, all right, is my subconscious trying to tell me something? Is there something in this song that I am thinking about or that I'm trying to think about or get an answer to? There's so many things, it could be. And I just love how our brains work and how we kind of don't fully know. We know more than we ever have, but we still don't fully know how our brains work. But this particular song also got me thinking about kryptonite. It's the thing that will take away all of Superman's strength so that instead of being completely superhuman, he has okay, let me just say, I have watched a lot of Smallville. I watched it when it was playing, every week on TV. And then I think we bought season 1 on DVD. But there was a point at which, for me, it just became a little too... I'm trying to think of a way to say this that doesn't sound bad. It just became a little bit too aimed at young people with a kind of an angsty emo thing going on that I don't think it had in the first few seasons. I liked the action and adventure and everything that was, it was high school, it was small town, but it wasn't angsty to the degree that I think it became later. So that's just me in my opinion. But all that to say, I watched a lot more Smallville than I have, say, read Superman comics. And I've probably seen every Superman movie, but, from the first one with Christopher Reeve back in the 1970s, maybe the 1980s, to the most recent ones, that's, 35 years of Superman movies. So I can't remember all the different things that describe this is Superman and his backstory and his world and that sort of thing. And, some of the stories have, this is the origin story, but now we're going to write it a different way and say, imagine if this had happened instead or whatever. But no matter where you're, looking at Superman or how you're watching him or reading him or whatever, kryptonite is the thing that will make him incredibly weak, probably weaker than any normal human. It just saps all of his strength from him. And I imagine probably all of us have kryptonite in our lives. Probably all of us have different kinds of kryptonite for different areas of our lives. So I was thinking, because I couldn't get this song out of my head, and it's got a catchy tune, so it's not quickly or easily leaving my head anyway. But I was just thinking, I wonder what my kryptonite is. What is the thing that just brings me to my knees and makes me think that I can't go on at all? I don't know that I have one answer for my whole life. I don't know that if I have one answer for this whole year. It seems to me that it's, at least for me, it's a little bit different depending on what I'm going through. I think that my kryptonite changes depending on how long, I've felt under attack by something or someone, or how long I've been stressed about the same situation, that sort of thing. So maybe my kryptonite is when a situation just goes on and on and on, and it looks like there's no end. Then I start, really having to struggle with feelings of hopelessness, loss and grief over a future that I thought would happen that it looks like never will now. maybe even feelings of depression, if it's really just been going on and on and on with no end in sight. I suppose that's probably my biggest kryptonite. But then, like I said, I think in different situations we have different kryptonite for different things. So when I was early in writing, of course, as most early writers will be, it was just really hard to hear anybody criticize my work. If they said it with any kind of warmth and empathy and making me feel like they were genuinely trying to help, it was a lot easier. But if it was just, hitting me right in the stomach, right in the solar plexus, then that was pretty horrible, and it could knock me down for a long time. For a long, long time, like probably 20 years, maybe. If you count like from birth, 35 years of my life, I spent really struggling with like, what does somebody who doesn't like me see in me? Like, why doesn't that person like me? My husband, John, likes to say, everybody loves my kitty. And I'm like, I don't think everybody does. I think there are people who don't like me, and they have some reason. And sometimes I think it's a really good reason, because I was stupid at some point that they, met me or knew me, or I was in a bad mood and was mean in an uncharacteristic way, but that's all they know about me. Or, it could be anything. But I would struggle so much trying to figure out, why does someone not like me if I met someone who didn't like me? And then after a while, you grow a little bit more, and you're like, I need to let this go. It's really not that important. So this is our encouraging words episode for the week. And I guess my encouragement is, what is your kryptonite? Have you thought about it? Because if we know the things that hurt worst, if we know the things that might take us down, then we can have either some sort of defense against it, which will make it hurt less. So for instance, that's what I say, writers need to build a thick skin. So you can take criticism and take the part that is actually helpful, that will make you a better writer, because you were listening to what was said and what was unsaid in the criticism without it actually hitting your heart and having it hurt you. Just take it as, regardless of how it's meant, even if somebody is meaning to hurt you, like, just have a thicker skin. Honestly, you guys, that hardly ever happens. People don't normally try to hurt you as a writer, having to do with your craft and that sort of thing. Just saying that in case you're thinking, yeah, no, that's happened to me. And I'm saying, it probably was not meant to really be hurtful. Now, yes, I do believe more or less the best of people, so I might not know about your specific situation, but I do want to encourage you not to believe that people are purposely trying to hurt you. But let's just say that that's one of the things that is your kryptonite right now. So what if you could find a way to build a thicker skin quicker? What if you could figure out a way to just have like a catchphrase that when you read a review, or you're in your critique group, or somebody else, in some way says something critical about your writing, maybe how long it's taking for you to get published, or how much money you're making, or that sort of thing. And I'm also talking about the voice in your head. The voice in my head criticizes me constantly about how much money you're making. Oh, you're not a real writer because you don't make enough to pay like all of the expenses for your whole household. You don't even make enough to pay your rent every month. And it gets really, really mean, and I have to shut that voice down. So that voice can be my kryptonite. But if we could figure out, like, what can we do to shut down the kryptonite? What can we do to disable this thing that's making us feel completely disabled? Then I think that it could help us to have the kryptonite not actually be so powerful. What can we do to make it lose its power? So one of the things that I try to remember is a Bible verse about take every thought captive to Christ, meaning that every thought that comes in my head, I have to ask myself, Jesus, is this thought a healthy thought? Is this a good thought? Is this something that I think that you want me to be thinking about, focusing on, that sort of thing? Does it coincide with everything that I know and believe about I'm a valuable human being and God loves me and there's a purpose in my life and there are reasons why I'm in certain situations and have certain gifts because God has a plan for me? Is the thought in my head in line with all of those things? Or, as it so often isn't when you're feeling very bad about something, is it something that's just kind of out of the ballpark, just mean or rude, or seems like it doesn't really apply to anything that you know to be truthful. So that's one way to do it. Another way might be to watch who you're hanging out with and what those people are saying. So I'm not saying that you need to get rid of any of your friends, but I am saying that you need to consider what sorts of things that you talk about in front of certain kinds of people, and whether or not those people are related to you or if they're friends with you or whatever. The fact is that if somebody is always saying something that brings you down and makes you feel like they're tearing you down, even if, or even particularly if that's not their intention, then there are certain things that you probably need to not be talking about in front of that person. So that's another way to kind of take away the power of that particular kryptonite. So again, I'm not here to go through all the different things, but it's just an idea. What's your kryptonite in this or that situation? And now that maybe I've put the idea in your head, you'll start thinking about the things in your life where, ow, that really hurt. Oh, that's sort of like the kryptonite thing. So how can I avoid this or make it less powerful, less painful next time? So I get to the point where, whether it's 6 months or 60 years, eventually, get to the point where I don't need everyone to love me. That's the thing that it took me a long time to learn. It's okay if there are people in the world who don't like me. But if I do know why they don't like me, and any of them have a gripe that I need to ask forgiveness for because I really did something mean to somebody, that's important. Or something where it seems like everybody doesn't like this trait about me. There's an idea. Maybe I should be thinking about this. Is that something that I could change and improve upon? Same in our writing. If everybody doesn't like the hero, if everybody's like, no, I liked her, but not him, or vice versa, or whatever, then you have to start thinking, well, right, nobody likes my hero, so what's wrong with him? The kryptonite could be anything, and we could find any of many, many ways to take away some of its power. But also to keep in mind, what is this helping me with? Maybe a little bit of kryptonite sometimes actually helps me to get stronger in an area, which is a really interesting paradox. So that's my encouraging word episode for today. It may be totally too weird for you and you're like, yep, moving on to the next episode. Or you might be like, this is interesting. I'm going to think about it some more. So I can't get the song out of my head. So obviously I'm going to be thinking about it at least until I get some other songs stuck in my head. I hope you guys are having a great week, and just remember that you are awesome. You have more power than you realize, and you can do pretty much anything that you want if you can find a way. So, keep your mind open. Look for ways to keep going on this fabulous career that we have. Get a little bit better at writing, get a little bit better at business, and keep a positive attitude. It'll do wonders. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.